Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday Mortgage Coach Trust Engine interview. First of all, this is like a Monday because yesterday was Labor Day. Hopefully everybody did some extreme recovery yesterday. This is part of a special 2-month program called the Mortgage Coach 10X Strategy. I'm going to do a 10X interview with Brian McCauley, who is not only an extremely successful top producing team leader, he's a mortgage coach that's created thousands of advice experiences for families. So he brings both best practices to do a lot of volume and best practices to deliver a lot of value and advice. You know, we believe that every borrower can achieve financial freedom, but to do that, they need more than a rate quote. You know, they need advice. So just to kick this off, I want to remind everybody where to go for more information on this. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and then bring Brian into the training arena. So if you go to mortgagecoach.com/10x, his picture will be up here soon, along with the other speakers that I'm going to be interviewing this week, the other top or this month. So when you go here in a couple days, whoever's coming next, you'll be able to sign up for it. And then when it's green, you can watch it. I do want to call out that there is a special 10X playlist where not only do we have links to all the master classes, but we have links to micro classes, micro content that's just easier to consume. Also, we have a 10X playbook. So all on this page. We've updated this 3 times and a 4th update's coming any day. But this is just all the resources you need to train on going from loan officer to mortgage coach. And then it's also important to note that to learn how to use the product, learn how to use the tech platform, there's online digital training resources. There's also live training every Wednesday at 11 and every Thursday at 9. We're training on product. And for all the newbies out there, 9 o'clock Pacific every Monday, we do new guy training for mortgage coach. On this call, I'm also joined by Aaron Miller, success manager here. What's up, Aaron?
I have my microphone on mute. Hey, good to see you, Dave.
Good to see you. So folks, if you do have questions, where do I learn how to do that? How do I learn that? Put it in chat. And Aaron will jump in and do some, let's just call it technology training. So let's bring Brian McCauley in. So Brian, before, like, this class is like how to create clarity and confidence with home buyers, but after prepping with you, it sounds like, and home sellers and realtors, like you're literally in this market where there's a lot of unclarity and lack of confidence. We're going to cover all 3 of those, folks. Before we do that, just, how is this year going for you? What kind of volume do you think you'll end up for the year? And then let's get into strategies.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. It's a wild time in the industry, but that's okay. Tough times don't last, tough people do. And I'm happy to be on this and help everybody as much as I can. I agree. I think it's buyers. I think it's sellers. I think it's agents. I even think it's LOs. There's a much bigger box out there that people need to be aware of. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And so I'm going to do the best I can to fill up that box with as many scenario strategies and conversations as I can for the public. Volume's doing good. Last year was 124. We're trending to about 110 this year. So my thing was, hey, if I could do 100 million, I would be happy. And right now we're heading just to be a little bit ahead of that. So I think that's going to be a pretty strong year, and a year that's had a couple quick question marks behind it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. To only be down, like less than 10%, looks like about 7 or 8%. I'll take any lender would take that all day long, and most any branch would take that all day long. Right. Also, I know that in terms of the amount of price exceptions you have, I always look at that as a sales fitness score, but you rank well among your peers. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, PEs are necessary when they're necessary. I think the reason that so many people give PEs now are 2 reasons. One, I think LOs, when they don't provide enough value, it's easier for people to shop on price. The advice over price is the way to go. And if you don't have enough advice, AKA value, it's easy to get commoditized. I think the second piece of that is really right now, LOs have to know who their clients are and who their clients aren't. I think that's important. If you don't know who they are, you don't know who they aren't, meaning like that means everyone's a client. That's just not the case. From a PE standpoint, like, don't make your clients clients that are talking to a local credit union. I mean, that's just, they're really hard to beat. And so in those scenarios, if you're going to lose fast, but the most important thing is providing value to the clients and letting them understand the totality of everything. And I think the more time you spend, the more time you use MC, the more time you dig in with the clients, you show them the big picture, short-term and long-term, the less likely they are to shop.
Agreed. And we'll do a micro class at some point in this conversation around just a reminder. I mean, we kicked off this whole training with Jeremy Forcier the first Thursday of August, focused on that. We did a whole hour of training on that. But I think it's such a big problem, such a challenge. I'm gonna, do a 3 to 5 minute training at some point. So let's get into it.
Cool.
You came here with how to create confidence, buyers, sellers, realtors, and loan officers. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the borrower. I think if everybody on here, majority of people are LOs, let's start with the borrower, right? The buyer. What are the issues with the buyer? How do you overcome objections? How do you present value? How do you go big picture? How do you put them in the future? How do you put them in the past? So, everybody's running in these scenarios every single day. And so, when it comes to the buyer and the borrower standpoint, most people are concerned because they're like, hey, rates are a little bit too high. I don't love the payment. I think I'm going to chill. I think most people at that point go, okay. And they try to find a way to navigate the conversation. But I think that you should already have multiple milestones on the roadmap for the borrower so they understand that, sometimes temporary high rates are a buyer's best friend. You can give them comparisons. Hey, would you rather go back in time 16 months ago and get a 2% cheaper rate, but overpay, 10% for the house and be upside down? No. Okay, cool. Well, how about summer 2024? If interest rates are % plus better, what does that look like to you? Are rates, are prices cheaper? No. Is there less chaos in the street? No. Okay. Well, then, what you save in the rate and the payment, you might lose in the equity in the house. And that's one of the things I'm really focusing on for buyers and agents too, is saying like, I think right now is a race to jockey for an equity position. And we're going to talk about that, I know, here in a minute, but it's like, okay, if you don't like a 7% rate, what does it need to be? 6, and the payment needs to be $200 cheaper. Okay, great. You can either wait till the market gets there organically or strategically get in, the seat with your agent, figure out what you need to do a buy down. And then that way the buyer can have everything that they want right now, which is the house, the price, the rate, and the payment. But you got to be prepared for this stuff. You also got to be able to teach the buyers about the fear component of it, of like, it's not going to stay stagnant when rates get better. Something has to offset. What's going to be the offset? Price of house, demand of house, right? And then sometimes that increase will offset this decrease, except now you've paid 10% more for the house. And so you could have actually made some money on the upswing had you known all this at that time.
Love that, guys. There was some great scripting in that. You could get there organically or let the market get you there, or you could get there strategically. I love that. like, hey, I would prefer to let's plan this out and let's get there in the most strategic, proactive way possible. So let's do, I always like stories and strategies where you tell a story where, the client had this need, this problem, and this is how I solved it. You did that. You did a great job. It's Scriptapalooza. By the way, anyone watching this, we're going to add Brian's Scriptapalooza videos to the 10X training playlist. So both of those will be in the 10X training playlist because I think they're just super spot on. But what's a story and a strategy that comes to mind right now that's relevant?
Yeah, I mean, the most important ones are all buyers, right? They are, especially in Dallas and the Texas market. Inventory is still thin because obviously Texas is growing a ton. You just don't have enough homes. And so obviously people, when they're finding inventory, you've most of the time got, 1 or 2 people that are offering on the house. But even if they like the house, they're just concerned with the rate. They're concerned with the payment. So I literally had one this morning where they're offering, I think it's $1,190,000. And they were coming back and they were going to do $25K off the price. And I said, to the client, let me show you a side by side. And if you go 25K off the price with the natural rate, or 25K and a 2-1, and show you the side by side. It was like, you know? So you always lean with talking to the buyer. You have to assume that you're going to get a concession. Okay. If you're going to get a concession, AKA the seller is going to be okay giving you some money. Let's figure out exactly where the money is the best use. Because if the seller says, I'm going to give you 20K, they don't care where you put the money. I care where the buyer puts the money because it's the highest and best use of the money. And that's where you have to do a TCA and show them a side by side on, hey, 20K off the roof for 30 years doesn't do anything. 20K is a 2-1 buy down, does this. And so it shows them the highest and best use of the money. That's part one that people have the aha. The second part, which we can get into in the back half of this, is the psychology of the sale. I think it's really big. I don't think anyone's talking about that at all. And I think that for those who've been in the industry, 10 or 15 years, and you were kind of around during the subprime crash, declining equity in a neighborhood can kill wealth. And it's done by small clicks and small drips. So if $1 million house goes for 980, that one sells. Every buyer drives through the neighborhood and the agent goes, oh, wait, this one was $1 million. Now it's 980. So the next one's going to be 960. The next one's 940. And over a 9-month span, you have killed $50,000 in equity in the area versus if you bought it at $1 million and did the 20K in concessions and closing costs and bought down the rate, you would get a higher and better use of the money, save the client a ton on the payments. If they refinance before the buy down is up, they get a temporary refund, but also the sold price shows what the list price was. So if it's listed at $1 million and it sells at $1 million, even though you're getting 25K on the back end, the psychology of the sale for the rest of the world says, oh, there's no weakness in this area. I can't go low. And the reason, obviously, you don't want people to go low is because 12 months from now, people are going to refi. What if they're 80% LTV and all of a sudden the declining area puts them back at 90? Now that 1.25%, 1.5% savings has MI. So it's washed out the savings and therefore it's like, oh no, now it's not as strong. Or what about the Daves of the world, the Brians of the world? It's got kids going to college and they were going to sell their house or they were going to cash out refi. And if they kept the comps up, we could have got 200K out in cash from net proceeds. Now it's down to 120 because buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer 3, agent 1, agent 2, agent 3 decided to take the concession off the price versus putting it as a closing cost credit. And therefore, not only did it kill the comps, it didn't do anything for the rate. It didn't do anything for the payment. And if the buyer refis before the 3-2-1, the 2-1 is up, they don't get any money back. Now that they do, and that essentially pays for the refinance in full. So there are multiple checkpoints that people need to be aware of. And this is where I wanted to make sure everybody watching this is, hey, you have to discuss all these things with your clients, but you also have to discuss them with the agent and say, we've got to protect the equity and the wealth in the area. But if everyone just goes haircut 10% because they don't know any better, that is our fault as advisors. And we have to lean out there and get more involved with not only the buyer, but the agent.
So anyone listen to this? Yeah, I just saw some hearts go up. Anyone that heard that, do you think, one, that is a conversation that an average loan officer can have with a realtor in a way that's incredibly compelling? I would say no. And then two, do you think the mortgage advisor, the mortgage coach, the person that goes through this 10X training can do that better than anyone else? And do you think realtors would like that? Do you think builders would like that? Absolutely, guys. That's where the future in mortgages for the next 3 to 5 years is being able to address the needs of the market. And one of them is like, let's not lose values unnecessarily while interest rates are temporarily high. And then we're also going to have to be helping all the, 63% of every human being with a mortgage in America starts with 2 or 3%. And you're going to have to cast a picture. You're going to have to future cast. Hey, like they're not going to do it because they're better off today, because today they're going to go from 2 to 3% to 7%. They're going to do it because they're better off 3 years and 10 years from now. And you need to show that to them. You need to future cast that. So Brian, let's do a whole little, show a TCA. Let's do a little training on that. Depending on how long that takes. Aaron, we may have you come up and do a little 3 to 5 minute, okay, let me show you how to do what Brian just did. So be on standby, Aaron. All right.
You guys good?
We're good.
Okay. So I've got two here, right? So this is the one that I call the past, present, and future, but this is the cost of waiting. And this cost of waiting piece really gets in a borrower's head and does a small box versus a big box, meaning buyers only think about, hey, what's the rate and the payment? So what I did is I went in here and said, look, let me kind of explain to you based on projections and data where the future is going, that I unpacked two things really on the conversation. One is, if you're looking at numbers and you're a buyer and you want simple rate and payment, if you buy a house in 2023 and you do a $500,000 deal, 10% down, interest rate 6.99 with a half a point, here's your payment, okay? Let's say you're like, I don't like that. That's too expensive for me, Brian. I want to wait for a year where rates are projected to be 1% or so better. Let's talk about it then. And I say, cool, but remember, a year from now, right, this house, when rates drop 1% plus, is not going to stay at 5. Okay, an average market, when rates are stable, appreciation in good markets is probably 4 to 5% a year. When rates are dropping significantly, which is 1% plus, rates are appreciation is going up by probably 8, 9, 10%. So I showed them, hey, a year from now, if rates are better, by 1% or better, the price of that house is going to jump from 500 to 550. So let's drop it down to 599. You can see the difference and the payment. Great, it's $100, but you had to pay an extra 10% for the house. Well, let's fast forward 2 years from now, rates are at 499. Same concept, right? But the house has gone up another 8, 9%, showing them that yes, the difference of the payment is maybe 150 to $200 now versus then. But what I really want to show them is, do you want to be the buyer that buys here and it pays more than you want, but in a year or two, when rates go from here to here, you can refi. It will save you money, but the big pickup is this, from 500 to 600. And it's like, okay, great. Let's say you have to pay an extra $250 for 24 months. So it cost you $6,000 in extra payments. But 2 years from now, you've made $100K in equity. So subtract the $6,000 in extra payments from the $100K that you would have made. That still leaves you net 94K up. And this is what I'm trying to show people in creating wealth. Like anybody would say, I'll make that trade. The smart person buys here, sits on it knowing that it's a long-term play and a strategy to create wealth, understanding that as rates drop, prices go up. So some of the offset of the increase in the price is going to be affected by the bottom line and the rate and the payments. Same logic for 2025. But the intelligent advisor officer says, hey, buy here. Here's why. This is an ideal, but the big difference is here to here. Don't you want to make 100K on the upswing and compound your wealth even more? Or do you want to buy at 600,000 at the top, save yourself 150, $200, but this person over here made 100. Split the difference, make 50. And so this is one of the things that I'm really trying to dig into clients and say, like, if we were in Vegas and I said, you give me 6K, I'll give you 100 in 24 months. Will you take that bet? They're going to say yes. But if all they're paying attention to is the rate and the payment, and that's all the conversation is around, then they're going to be stuck in the mud. And this is where us as lenders, we have to show them a year from now, 2 years from now. And the big important piece about this too is there's data everywhere about these projections, whether it be Zillow, Redfin, Housing Wire, you name it, everyone's pointing to a version of this close within 12 to 24 months. So you can back it up with data as well. And then people say, oh yeah, I could save myself $250 a month if I wait 24 months, but I'm going to pay 100K more. I don't really like that. And so this is an easy way for people to understand conceptually why to buy, how to buy, and then it has them see through the same lens as we do, which is you're not saving money here. You're losing a lot of equity and a lot of wealth. Smart move is here.
So you had a really good headline. I can't remember what you said, but like if you were to write a little marketing headline around this, make a little YouTube video around it, what would you call it? You know, something provocative, attention getting.
I mean, it's really the cost of waiting is and this is a wealth booster. So, I mean, a thumbnail would be, how to create more wealth in a high interest rate environment.
Okay, that's good. What was the dollar amount? You said something else early on.
So I said, if you're looking at this, it's $100K in equity jump in 24 months, right? Because on average, homes appreciate at 4 to 5% in the stable. So as rates drop 1% to 2%, obviously the appreciation is going to double 8, 9 to 10%. So the trade is, hey, if we're in Vegas today and you hand me $6,000 and I tell you I'm going to hand you back 94 in 24 months, would you take that trade?
Yes.
The answer is yes. The $6,000 is the extra money and payments that they're going to pay over 24 months versus the equity that they're build by buying now and waiting 24 months as rates drop. That's the trade. And they're still going to get to refi in a year or 2 years and go back to the rate and back to the payment that they want. It's just that buying then versus buying now, they lose the upswing on the equity and it kills their wealth.
Yeah, this is a great lesson. Everyone tuned into this. You need to know how to create this TCA. You need to know how to have this conversation with buyers, sellers, realtors, builders. So Brian, I'm going to have Aaron come on real quick and just do like a 3 to 5 minute how to create one of these. You cool with that?
I think it's great. Also for the LOs, if you don't like this one, do past, present, and future. Do 2022, 2023, 2024, except here, do a 499 rate, except show them that they'd be upside down by 10% and be like, you can trade the rate, now you can't trade the house. Do you want a lower rate and payment? But now you're actually upside down, you're negative. That's not ideal either.
Yeah, I love that. And Carmen just came up with an idea, buy now and have more wealth later. By the way, community, we welcome all ideas. Feel free to share other ideas. Also give us a reaction if you got value from what Brian just shared. Brian, go ahead and stop sharing your screen real quick.
Okay.
And Aaron, try to keep this under 5 minutes if you could.
Okay. 1 sec here while I grab that. Okay, great. You can see my screen?
We can.
Excellent. So I'm going to go to new client. And so we'll start this off. I'm going to change this to a marketing one. I'm going to call it the cost of waiting. And you would go in and fill out your contact information, property address being TBD. I'm assuming you're going to be buying over where I'm at. And the goals are going to be purchasing a new home. So from here, I would then go to product 1. And you could put in, you could call this one buy now. I think this is a lot of times what I see, or you could like what Brian did. He had in the year. So we could also call this 2023. So on my purchase price for this one, Brian did 500,000. Actually saw that the median home price, isn't that jumped up to like 400,000 now?
It's getting up there.
Yeah. So if we do like a 10% down, or you could show 20% down. I'll do that for simplicity, but keeping at your 699 on your interest rate, my term being 360. And then I go on to closing cost, drop in a fee template, or if you are an enterprise client, you've got the closing court button or Lodestar, then you can drop in title fees really fast. But I've just got a template of generic closing costs I'm going to put in there. I'm not charging any points on this, but I'll put in 15 days prepaid interest. And then on my monthly costs, I go in and I drop in just $100 on the hazard insurance, looking up the tax rate for wherever you are. Our taxes are nice and beefy around here in Texas, but for mortgage insurance, not worried about that based on my LTV. I'll put in my escrows down here. Always remember to check this box right here to collect 12 months premium up front and then taxes. So now this one's done. I move on to the next one. And the great thing about this is that it actually snowballs. So if you're waiting until 2024, then we can just copy from the first product, make a duplicate. But the story that we're telling is, hey, your home price went up now. That house you wanted is now $550. So same down payment, but lower that interest rate a tick down to $599. And there we go. So you're seeing a 20, let's see, about $10,000 difference there. Everything else should be the same. So then the last thing that we would do is just add in another product and do it again. If I'm going from 2024, then I would just hit 2025 and then bring it up again. And I really do like what you say, Brian, about, to me, the cost of waiting used to feel confusing until I realized the whole key to all of it, which is you're missing out on equity growth. You know, like you're missing out on a lot that you could be buying on now, and then realize that equity gain later. So I've got my array of loan amounts that are increasing. I've got my interest rates that are decreasing. So when I get over here to the short term, where would you dial this in, Dave?
Yeah, pause, do short term of 60 months, do long term of 10 years, and then turn the long term chart to net worth. That was Tom had asked for that. So
cool.
There you go.
Yeah, and if you guys want, like, if you haven't, click on these information buttons. I think they're easy to run past and not realize they're there. These are training modules that are built in on the analysis page. Really good stuff there. And after Dave always loves it whenever I mention this, when you're done making a presentation you're really proud of, it's generic enough that you want to use it as a template. You don't have to steal it from the borrower that you're making it for. You can hit copy analysis, and this is basically going to duplicate the entire thing that you were just working on. You can either set it to be a new client and then turn that into a template, or you can copy it to the existing client you have. Maybe you want to show them the exact same kind of presentation with just different numbers. So then you would just make a duplicate of it. So you have options there when you hit copy analysis. If there's anything you don't want to show, unhide it here on the presentation page. But I'll go down here to preview, put a quote date on it, and then generate the share link. And so that link is what we would drop in on everybody. And I'll put that in our chat right now. If I were to add audio and video, then I would be clicking either button there, but I'm going to hit preview and highlight and just show off what I've been doing.
All right, guys. So less than 5 minutes. I probably wouldn't do the net worth here just because you're really showing a roadmap of buying, and it's kind of, when showing the net worth feature, it's showing, you know, as though you did all those things at one time. Great job, Aaron, though. Brian, anything you want to call out there? Anything you want to make sure people get? Because we're doing a training here. So if you had...
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. I think that's really, really good what he's doing. I think the other piece is, guys, too, when you're showing people all of this stuff, you know, I did 10% down for a reason, because there's MI in there. And so if people are talking about savings on the rate and the payment, you have to remind them, hey, you know, MI is involved in this piece. Dude, if you buy now, not only will you make a lot of money in the upswing, but you go to refi, that MI is gone because of the equity position that you currently have. And so it reminds them as well, oh, wow, I can save money getting rid of the MI in 12 to 24 months too. If that's $100 a month, that's a drop off. So what you guys have done to set this, you know, software up, obviously, to be able to go 10 ways to Sunday is great, but there are different lanes that people can continue the conversation with, depending upon what type of borrower you have.
Yeah, really, really well done. And to me, the big point there, guys, is delivering advice with price takes 5 minutes. Like, that was, you know, and he could have done it faster if he would have had it set up as a strategy template. It would have been done in 2 minutes. So great job, Aaron. That was kill. So Brian, let's jump back on stage, share another strategy. If there's some key scripting that you want to make sure you deliver, like we want to do a couple how-tos with the product, but we also want to, you know, get your sales leadership in this.
Yeah. Okay. So share a screen, you know, kind of one of the things too. I mean, the same concepts. This is for an actual client that got under contract the previous week. This is a 3-2-1. So, you know, in this scenario, we basically showed clients, hey, she was going to offer, you know, $700,000 on the property, and they weren't exactly sure which direction to go. And so the buy down on this deal cost about 30 grand for a 3-2-1. So I did side by sides and said, hey, if you ask for the 30K in a concession, year 1, 2, and 3, here's the bottom line. Here's what it looks like on the savings, versus going back to, okay, well, don't offer anything towards a concession, just do it off the price of the house. You drop 30K off the price, showing the bottom line. And it just shows them, respectfully, again, what a dud it is to offer it that way. But this is where I actually broke it out specifically and said, doing a 3-2-1 with 30K and the seller paying for it goes 1, 2, 3, versus if you do it the old school way, sinks the ship. Plus now the comp is 670, right? It's no longer says 700. And I just say, like, what if your neighbor is selling their house for 800 and somebody offers 775? You as the other neighbor go, oh, that kind of kills my equity in my house. It's like, hey, 800 neighbor, take 800, but do 25 as a buy down, show them a TCA on the side by side. It's the same net, but your house is now stronger in comp, so is theirs, and the buyer needs to understand that piece. The agent piece is really important too, because they want to understand how to pitch it. So Dave, going into your question for me, so I sent these to you guys prior to, but I know a lot of times with LOs, it's hard to really grab the script and be able to have a conversation around it. So what I've done in here is I have put together 3 scripts that Dave's going to add to the 10X platform that is a buyer script. Okay, so it says, hey, when you're an agent or you're a borrower, or I'm sorry, an LO, and you get a borrower that says, interest rates are just too high, I'm going to wait. Everything's too expensive. Instead of saying, okay, what I want people to try to objectively get a number out of them. Hey, I totally understand. I hear that all the time, just so I can make a note and keep in touch with you as the market improves. What does the rate and the payment need to be for you to feel comfortable continuing the process? Okay. The reason you want to do that is because you don't want buyers to be subjective to feelings. You want them to be objective to numbers. So it makes them think, but you also have a metric to say, okay, great. If rates drop 1%, 1%, payment drops 100, 200, I'm going to put you on my list. You're like a stock broker. Hey, the stock's too high. It's $9. I'm going to wait. Okay, cool. What does the stock need to drop to for me to call you back? $8, $7. And so it's an intentional strategic way to have them give you numbers. So 1, in the event that you have to actually call them back and wait, a timing thing. But 2, if they say, rates need to get 1% better, payment needs to get $200 better. Great. Awesome. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. I'm going to put you on my list. I promise that I will call you when I can get you that rate and payment. Then all they have to do is switch over to the realtor, Aaron, Brian McCauley. I just talked to client Dave. He said this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Here's the deal. If you can find a house at $500,000, Dave will do it at a 6% rate and an X payment. So what I want you to do is go in and make an offer on that property, but you get it with a 2-1 or a 3-2-1. Therefore, the buyer has the rate and the payment and the house and everything that they want. Okay. So I did some examples down here, which is get them to be objective and get information from them versus a feeling. Okay. And then once you have all that, run the numbers for them with your mortgage advisor and say, all right, they want the payment here, not here. So this is what it costs. If they want the payment here, this is what it costs. So you get what they want, figure it out with me or whoever is originating the loan. Then the agent can call back and say, hey, I want to let you know that I've got some awesome news on the rate and the payment goals that we discussed earlier. I just spoke with Dave and I can get you the rate and the payment that you want, blah, 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 blah. It's called a rate buy down strategy. I've done this for a lot of clients. All of this is in there, okay? And then what I did for my partners is I included my YouTube video that talks about the benefits of a buy down. So in case people are a little confused and they want to go back to it a few times, they can watch it over and over and over. And it shows like a TCA with a little, emoji and blah, 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 blah from a program standpoint. So this is the one that I think people should use and give to their agents. So that way they know what to say and overcome the objection as it happens. Dave, we talked about seller objections as well. So, hey, man.
Hey, real quick before you do that, I just want to remind everybody, if you go to mortgagecoach.com/10X, and then we have the 10X playbook right next to the piece of micro content, which I think we'll make some micro content around this too. You could get this. It will be towards the end. They'll be called Brian McCauley's what do you call them? Success.
I think it's the 10X scripting for success. What to say, when to say it, and how to say it.
Boom, we got it. By the way, everyone, how do you like this so far? Give us a reaction in chat. Looks like people are digging it. All right, let's do this one.
This is for the seller piece. So obviously, if we're lenders, we don't really mess with the seller, but the agents do. And they say, like, I've talked to a lot of people that are cool with selling their house, but there's just no inventory out there. And these, owners have 3% rates, 4% rates, 5%, and things are just too high for them to actually want to step out and sell. So when they talk to somebody, an agent, and they say, I want to sell my house and get a new one, but I've got such a great rate on my mortgage, it's hard to walk away, yada, yada, yada. The rates are too high. I'm going to wait. Okay. So the agent says, I totally understand. I hear that all the time. Did you know that you can still get an interest rate in the 4s and the 5s today? It's just a matter of who pays for the fee for it to get that low. I'm curious, would you consider selling and buying if you could get a rate of the 4s or even the 5s? Now you program the sellers to say, I didn't know that you can get a rate in the 4s today. You can. Let me show you how. So this is the other component of the script. This happens all the time. And most of the time, I can get the seller to pay the fee, which is much more competitive than the current rates. However, worst case scenario, you're playing with house money, meaning you've got all this trampoline equity because of COVID. So worst case, if you got 100K, take a little piece of your equity on the proceeds, 10%, and you pay the fee to get the rate bought down in the 4s and the 5s. And this way you don't have to wait another 12 to 18 months for the market to lower, because obviously it'll do it on its own. But the downside with that is it's going to push the prices way up and make it harder for you to get a home on the flip side. And so again, this is a long stretch piece on what you can give to your agents, on what to say to sellers that want to sell, that have a competitive rate in the 3s and the 4s, getting them off the fence, thinking that, oh, I've got 4%, rates are at 7, too big of a gap. Say, did you know people can still get rates in the 4s right now? I didn't. Let me tell you how. And so it gets them on the other side. And then it's a matter of, great, sell your house at max equity. Hopefully I can get the seller to pay for the buy down. If not, worst case scenario, take some of that house money that you got during the COVID bounce, carve out 10%, get the house that you want right now with the price that you want, buy down the interest rate, and you're set. Because if you wait 12 to 18 months, yes, the organic natural rate will come down and the payment will come down with it. The downside is that house is going to bounce 10%. And so now the savings from the rate and the payment are not going to be as substantial.
Boom, another killer script. Also, Tim Brahim pushed a video into our community earlier this year. It was called Strategies and Scripts to Help Realtors Get Listings. I just added that as a piece of micro content to our 10X sales training playbook. So check that out. And we'll put a link down below. But here's my message, guys. What he just showed you, these are some of the biggest problems realtors have. Like their biggest problem is not closing a loan on time right now. Their biggest problem is getting listings and getting buyers under contracts, and everything, all these scripts that Brian's going through, all these strategies that are part of this 10X program are addressing the single biggest problems in the market right now. So I'm loving it, brother.
Last one is the lack of inventory. Hey, I'm a buyer. I understand, rates are okay, whatever, but I've been waiting a long time to get an actual deal. But the problem is, Brian, or the problem is, Dave, because you're the agent, the lack of inventory. They like the house, but they don't love the house. I get this a lot. So on the scale of 1 to 10, everybody wants an 8. The problem is the 8s are really expensive. Everybody wants to get after them. You find yourself in a multiple situation. So what you want to say is, look, I understand inventory isn't great, but it's thin. Everyone wants an 8. The problem is the 8s are really expensive and everyone wants it. So here's the solution, right? Buyers are finding 6s everywhere. They don't love it, but they like it. So the question is, as an agent, if I find you a 6 and I can get a deal on it, in order for you to like it enough and make an offer and move it to a 7, what would you want on the deal? Okay, do you want the concession off the price? Do you want super low rate and payment? Or do you want a cosmetic upgrade for things like carpet, paint, and tile? It moves them from a 6, not to an 8, but from a 6 to a 7. And what you have to say is, I've got a lot of Daves out there. Everybody wants an 8, but the 8s are pricey and they're hard to come by. So what I've been doing for everybody is going from a 6 that you're kind of like, I like it, I don't love it. Okay, cool. What would move you from a 6 to a 7? Would it be 20K off the price? Would it be super low rate and payment? Or how about a facelift for 20K, carpet, paint, tile, and turf to move from a 6 to a 7? Now they're in the mind of, well, okay, cool. If I can get A, B, or C, right? I might like it enough to put an offer, moving it from a 6 to a 7. And this is depending upon the person. You give them a 3 option close. Some people will want the haircut off the price. I don't like it, but that may be what it is to get them there. Second one is, hey, why don't we get a 3-2-1? Dirt cheap payments for 24 months until the market corrects itself. Or why don't we throw some TLC on it? Carpet, paint, tile, turf in the backyard, landscaping. All good, all good. But that's the option that every LO in here can give these scripts to their agent. So when they run into this, and buyers say this all the time, say to move it from a 6 to a 7, it's one of these 3. Which one do you want? Apples, oranges, or bananas? And you make the evidence of success of everybody that finds 6s, they don't love them, but they like them. But to move it from like to kind of love, it's one of the 3, which is it for you. And then you can give them an example here or a combination. How about a 1-0 plus carpet and paint, a hybrid, you know? And so the component here is, you guys are seeing this, program the client to see the deal and the options and why it's best, and then put them in the future as well. 12 months from now, this house won't be 400K and I can't get you a deal. It'll be 420. You'll have to pay full price and you won't get A, B, or C. Do you understand? Yes. Okay, cool. And then leave it up to the agent and the buyer to obviously structure it. So those are the 3 that everyone's running into that I probably talk about and around and through 75% of the time. And I really do these scripts plus really deep TCAs. And then of course I have a YouTube channel, and I throw my YouTube channel in there as a after the fact. So, hey, we talked about this. We talked about this. I'm going to send you a recap and then a link to my YouTube channel on apples, oranges, or bananas. Watch it. You'll really like it. So that way they have it, but also when they're at home at night, they can watch it 3 or 4 times, conceptually get it. But it also helps the agent, score. Agents can't score as well as us because they're not as good in the vernacular, but also in the numbers. And so we have to pitch it to the agents, give it to them in writing, train them, and then give them some type of video, YouTube or whatever to connect the dot. And then you need to be the person who really, closes the deal and also gives them some type of optic in conjunction with the TCA. So the buyers go, oh, now I get it. And this is my sauce until the market gets to where it corrects itself. And then after that, I will start changing my scripts again, which is, you're not out of time yet, but the hourglass is shrinking. And then of course, a year from now, when everything's nutty and rates are % plus better after the election, it's going to be a whole different deal. But the problem is you want everybody to win big from now until then. These scripts, TCAs, video, best shot.
All right, guys. So let Brian know what you thought. Give him a reaction from everything you just heard. Looks like you're getting a lot of hearts, brother. I thought that was huge. So let's, in this last 15 minutes we have, I think turning your advice into a tool to recruit realtors, a tool to get more referrals from realtors. I think it's pretty intuitively obvious that what you did that. One of the clips I'm playing a lot, and I think I played it almost in every training in this 10X program, but I'm going to play it because it's so important. And then I want to get your version of this. So this is a little 50-second clip from a $50 million producer in Denver. She's in the Denver market. Her name's Shay Jenkins. And by the way, last year was her 2nd year in the mortgage business, and she did 53 million. So, and she's on track having her 3rd year over 50 million. Nice. So check out what she's doing, and then let's talk about how you do this, Brian, because I know you already do this.
I was going after this huge, one of the top agents in Denver. And I had been trying since I was an assistant, I had been trying to get this person. And finally the poor girl gave me a break and was like, Lord, here you go, take this one lead. And I took the lead and I did a mortgage coach. And I was just like, you know what, why not? I'm going to CC the agent on here. And then that's when the agent picked up the call and she's like, are you serious? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, what, mortgage coach? And I was like, you're the top agent. You've never seen this before? And she's like, absolutely not. She's like, this is amazing. She's like, would you be able to do this with all my buyers? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, that's so cool. And again, in her head, I think she was thinking, I'm up all night creating this massive presentation with all these numbers and graphs. And I got her business and she's one of my top agents now.
So I think like that's the magic, right? And by the way, have you ever had that happen to you before where an agent is just like, oh my God, this is amazing?
Yeah, I mean, the two things for all the LOs watching that I do is I do a ton of TCAs and I do a ton of YouTube videos about this stuff as well to add a little bit of life to it. I make sure that myself and our team does what's called a proactive tattletale. I don't even wait for the agent to ask to be on it. Every TCA that we send, every structure, every YouTube video, anything that goes out to the client, I remind the team you tattletale, because I want the agent to see how professional we are, how we structure these deals, how we help buyers understand where the highest and best use of the money is, how to see the market, the details, and all of that. So it is a hard rule in our office and with our team, which is new agent, existing agent, past client, current, any TCA, any YouTube video that goes out, agent is included on every single one, every single time, from a learning tool standpoint, from a strategy standpoint. Because again, the more I can educate the realtor and help them, the better. But at the end of the day, we're going to be the ones that have the muscle behind the movement from the borrower. I make sure that we include them on everything, and they are wowed big time. And the truth of the matter is too, sometimes, the borrowers can't use us. They go somewhere else. And so I also want the agents to understand the gap, which is if they're using Bob Smith at 123 and they're a fee sheet and they're an LE, the agent starts to see like, man, these people are playing in the 90s. We're playing in 2030, and that's what you want. And that's the separation click by click over time. So what she's talking about is spot on. We just, for lack of a better term, we barf this stuff on them in a good way, because you set up such an excellent tool that it's an easy gap separation for the mortgage advisor. But also we want the agents to be able to see it, learn it, and know it. And any time that they're not getting it from somebody else, it's a subconscious reminder on, look at what we're doing. But also it's a little cheat sheet for them. I mean, anybody ever sitting around on the Saturday and the agent go, hey, we're going to make an offer. I'm just curious. What's the rate and what's the closing cost? I'm going to make an offer on the property. They can click on the TCA from a micro piece and click on closing costs, 9,400, rate 7%. It fills in the gap on that conversation that the agent would normally call you on a Saturday or after hours. And so if you're a producer or you're becoming a big producer, if you've got 10 offers going out every weekend and those agents would have called you 5 times, each one of those deals is 10 minutes, and you're with your daughter, with your spouse, doing whatever, you no longer have to have that call, one, but two, the value piece on the TCAs separates it. And you can politely ask, are your other lenders sending you this? Are they showing your clients the best strategies? Are they explaining to them why now's a better time than a year from now and 12 months prior to? And the answer is going to be no, 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 no. And you just say, okay, cool. How does that make you feel? Why do you think they're not? And it starts to solidify and put you in a position of an advice over price component. And by showing that over and over and over, eventually it puts you to first place in the race.
So I want to make sure we wrote down that question. Are your other lenders showing advice like this mortgage coach video or this, cost of waiting? And then,
right.
By the way, and then stop, like, let them talk and have a conversation around that. By the way, we're going to make a couple, that was a video that we want to put into it about 49 minutes into this conversation. So innovation team, let's make sure we get that in there. I do want to do a training on how to reduce and win with rate shoppers. And I want to get your voice into this, Brian. So one of the things that we talk about a lot and we teach is that it is 2023 and speed to lead is no longer enough. My entire career, that was the single most important principle to conversion and success. And we say, it's elevated now. It's speed to need. Who can get to the need of the consumer first and create clarity and confidence first? Like even anticipate the needs. So this is how most loan officers quote rates. And guys, this is why most loan officers price exceptions are double right now than what they typically are. I know that because we have hundreds of lenders that are clients, and it is not uncommon that whatever price exceptions were last year, they're double that now. So this is how a mortgage coach delivers price with advice. And Brian gave you multiple examples of where he's like, hey, here's one strategy. Here's an affordability strategy to lower your payment. And oh, you can refinance in the future and put in whatever that rate might be in the future. So first of all, date the rate, marry the house. I think Brian, a lot of what he taught covered this, and this will reduce price exceptions. But Brian, I'm right when I say this, you're still going to have some people grind you. Like you may get less of them, but you're still going to have some grinding, right, Brian?
You're always going to have grinding. I mean, no matter what, rate shoppers are part of the deal. Just bake it into your mentality and understand like, hey, rate shoppers are part of it, but also like, it's not their fault. Borrowers don't really know what else to ask for. What else are they going to ask for, right? That's just kind of like the common thread out there. And so it's not their fault. Our job is to overcome that and say, sure, happy to show you some competitive rates. Assuming the terms are competitive, what else is important to you? Financial goals, kids, saving money, wealth, investments. Have a counter objection and a reframe to get off of that, because they don't know really what to ask. That's the way that they're programmed from society. So when they say it, don't be caught off guard and offended. Just say, sure, I understand. I'm going to give you some competitive terms. The good news is I'm going to give you 2 or 3 options. And when we get there, you get to choose and we'll go over the pros and the cons on each. And that could be points, no points, somewhere in the middle. Hey, don't do 5% down or don't do 10% down, do 5% down, pay off your credit card instead. Therefore, your total bottom line is better, A, B, and C, but you got to get them off that thought. So have a counter objection to them and say, of course, I'm going to send you some competitive options. When we get there, you'll get to choose. We'll have A, B, and C, and we'll talk about the pros and the cons. And based on what's most important to you, we'll select that. And it's a very easy way to get them down, make a note, and then move on to the next. But again, 20% of people are going to rate shop, but everyone knows they're most likely going to be A, paper people, perfect credit, 20% down. But this goes back to the LO of advice over price, value over rate, but also knowing your audience. There are just some people that will drive a mile across town to save 10 cents on Gatorade. That's not our people. Do your best, but those aren't your people. If you get people in, they need advice over price. You have to be able to get to the spot where Dave is showing to show them the value. It's like, I want to go on a date for an hour because I can show my value in an hour. I can't go on a date for 10 seconds and show my value. It's just not there. So I also have to make sure that my audience will let me get on a date for an hour. And at the end of it, I feel like I've done a good job.
Love it. So guys, you have an option. You could deliver this. Now you, 1, are going to get rate shop more often. And 2, you're not going to be in the position to make the move 2 that I'm going to show you. So mortgage coach goes here. And then when a mortgage coach gets rate shopped, they've got a strategic conversation to have. They can show like, hey, here's my loan. Here's the competition that, let's just say it's a 0.5 point better in interest rate. And now you can show, well, hey, what's that monthly? And what's that over the course of a year? And what's that over the course of 2 years? And now you've dollarized it. So what I'm hearing in the marketplace, if the cost is less than $2,000 in a year, you're keeping the loan. You're not even doing a price exception. Like if you aren't delivering an experience to your consumer and they're committed to you that's not worth $2,000, then you need to upgrade the experience that you're giving. Now, if it's more than $2,000 and you need to do a price exception, now instead of doing it based off of an 1/8 or a 1/4, which is a lot of basis points, that's an expensive exception. You could do it based on dollars, like, oh, $500 credit, $1,000 credit. So it all comes down to, if you want to win in this market and you want to be the most profitable, highest conversion, we know that loan officers that don't do this, they deliver this, they're anywhere from 6 to 65 basis points more profitable, and they have a 10% better conversion. Brian, anything you want to kind of wrap around this? We're like right at the 5-minute mark. I think we just made a 5-minute video on how to win with rate shoppers, but anything you want to add to that? Any scripting you want to add? I
just encourage everybody to lean in this 10X. I mean, it's got every tool that you need to succeed and push through. I mean, you guys have done an awesome job, whether it's TCAs, any of the scripts that I've thrown into the into the mix, even weaving in the psychology of the sale, declining market, all of these things matter. It's what we run into 80% of the time. So it's our job to, practice and learn from each other. Obviously pour into, but pull from Dave's group as well, because it's all here. It's just a matter of learning and putting it into play. I think what once you've got is great. Happy to be a part of it and happy to share more with anybody after this that needs anything that's off topic. But that's why I like the psychology of this of the sale, killing the equity, reduces the wealth growth, causes issue with refis later, causes with cash outs. These are other things that you can have in the tool belt if and when those conversations start to pop.
Love this, man. So we're any questions that people want to put last minute, put them in chat. Please, if you're a manager on this, I'm doing this as a sales tool, like TEDx.com/TEDx or mortgagecoach.com/TEDx. One script I want to pull from the Jeremy Forcier interview real quick. When he goes and he's getting rate shopped, where someone, like, hey, I've got another lender that's going to do X. He always goes, would you forward me that, that total cost analysis showing all your options with the video that they did for you? So, they didn't do that for you? They didn't show you transparency, options, cost over time? Oh, well, what do they do? Just give you a fee worksheet or something? And then he puts that in his TCA. So just a little subtle tactic and strategy to help folks out. So Brian, we got 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
If there was one book that, really made the most impact for you this year, or a book that you think every loan officer should read right now, what would it be?
I think I'm going to go with Fanatical Prospecting. I think that's the best right now. LOs are down on their prospecting. They need to 3X their thought process, 3X what they're doing. That needs to be forward facing, because obviously, TCAs are great, scripts are great, everything is great. But if you ain't got nobody to talk to, you ain't got nobody to show strategies to, it dries up quick. So I think Fanatical Prospecting should be front and center for everybody. Look at them.
So get it, guys. Well, I interviewed Shayla last Tuesday, and she's doubling down on this book right now. And I can't emphasize enough, like, the two things that every successful, thriving originator that's winning in this market and positioning them for the future, they are fanatically prospecting. When I interviewed Shop Benushi, the #1 loan officer in the country, in May, he said, I've already met with and talked to more realtors this year than any year in my career. Like, guys, you got to get out and prospect. And then you need to be more than a loan officer. You need to be an advisor. Hopefully everybody is getting value from this. Any last words of wisdom before we wrap it? We got a minute left. Any little 1 minute nuggets? Stay close to Dave and the team. They got an edge on everybody. I just lean in this group a ton to figure out, who's the best for you, whether it becomes scripting, TCAs, whatever. Anybody that wants to connect with me, Dallas Mortgage Man, all sites. YouTube channel is great for the LOs out there that repeat themselves a ton of time a day and have a ton of valuable things to say. If you can make a long form video and send that to clients and partners as well, that seemed for me to compound the message. But also, if you have a team, sometimes your LOAs may not be able to pitch it as well as you, and you can give that to them to help support the team and the growth. But Dave, you guys have been amazing. I'm happy to be a part of it, dude. I could not run without it. Just excited about the future and excited to help you guys and anybody else that needs it. Brian, you're an awesome innovator. You're an awesome leader. Thank you for everything you do in this broad Trust Engine mortgage coach community. Thank you for everything you do at Fairway to help us have the amazing partnership we do at Fairway. So, brother, thank you very much. Hopefully everybody got value. Give us a little reaction on your way out the door. If you are watching this in our YouTube channel and you have a question, put it down below. We'll get to it. And if there was some, there was a clip, we want to do a better job of taking these, 1 hour long form videos and turning them into 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute lessons. So if there's something you want us to edit from today's call and put it in the playlist, let us know. Cool. So, take care, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Brian.